Hello and welcome from lockdown Sydney, Australia. My name is Debra Snoddy.
And my name is John Collins.
And we're here to present our paper as part of the panel for the future of Catholicism. Our paper's title is Pastoral Supervision, Insights into Complexity Through Celtic Religious Symbols. And at this point, I am going to share our screen so that we can have some slides to help the presentation.
Okay. Extensive investigative processes into the issue of sexual abuse in institutional settings in the Catholic Church, both in Ireland and Australia, has shocked the Church into action. Past and not too distant sins of commission and omission by Catholic clerics at all levels in relation to sexual abuse of children and vulnerable people is now common knowledge.
The report into the 5-year Australian Royal Commission into Institutional Responses to Child Sex Abuse made over 80 recommendations. 98% of these recommendations have been accepted by the Australian Catholic Bishops' Conference and the Catholic Religious of Australia, the governing body for religious orders here in Australia. Recommendations concerning the Holy See have been forwarded to Rome by the ACBC. Most of the recommendations are now being implemented in individual dioceses. One of the major recommendations is for everyone involved in pastoral ministry to access a minimum of 6 supervision hours for pastoral supervision per annum. A review in May of this year by Australian Catholic Safeguarding Limited recommended an increase from 6 to 10 hours supervision per annum to reflect professional requirements in other fields.
While pastoral supervision is not viewed as the answer to the issue of clerical sexual abuse, it is a constitutive component in the comprehensive response to a complex issue. This presentation explores the use of Celtic religious symbols as a potential tool for clerical supervision in both individual and group contexts. As far as possible, this presentation will be jargon-free. It may also include exclusive language at times, such as cleric, as we are currently working in an exclusively male environment. That said, we hold that what is presented here applies equally to women and others who do not identify with binary gender forms.
So, what is supervision? Well, pastoral supervision is about learning from experience. It is a relationship whereby supervisor and client engage in inquiry into workplace events and practices in order to become more effective. Pastoral supervision, then, is a way of reflection, identification, awareness raising, naming, and questioning the workplace reality with its challenges and achievements. While supervision is concerned with pastoral practice, there may also be occasion to bring to the consultation personal issues related with the client's pastoral practice.
Supervision is not counseling, spiritual direction, or psychotherapy. Rather, it is a process of structured reflection on experience that offers accountability, feedback, and insight, and explores strategic ideas for better work practices. Paramount for this to happen is that supervisors recognize their own limits and offer referrals when appropriate to other professional services. We now move to the symbols. In our professional pastoral context, we are currently working with clerics, that is, priests and permanent deacons, to help them acknowledge the space in which they are ministering. Part of the process is to understand the person in their context. Bernard Lonergan argues that feelings respond to values in accord with a scale of preference, with vital, social, cultural, personal, and religious values rising in ascending order. At times, all the values are working in harmony. At other times, one or other value can become a source of distress or disharmony.
So our first symbol then is the cross of Bridget. Celtic symbols, because of their richness and complexity, are ideal visual aids for the engagement of clients in supervision. They can become an icon made up of multi-layered, interwoven patterns and shapes, and as such may serve as a useful metaphor for the process of pastoral supervision. The vital, social, cultural, personal, and religious values can be illustrated in the cross of Bridget. Now, the cross of Bridget is far older than Christianity and goes back to the life-giving goddess Bridget, who was one of the Tuatha De Danann. Her feast was the feast of Imbolc, or Celtic Spring, and the cross we make of rushes today is very likely a descendant of the pagan symbol, whose original meaning may have been to protect homes from fire.
The modern four-folio cross, woven on February 1st, is associated with Bridget of Kildare, one of the patron saints of Ireland. 4 arms are woven from a square centre, and in professional pastoral supervision, this symbol can be used to represent the scale of values, with the personal at the centre and the vital, social, cultural and religious values represented by each of the arms. By using the cross of Bridget as a device for discernment, issues from the caverns of the hidden are brought to the conscious mind, thus opening the field for clients to become aware of how these aspects interact with each other and what impacts this may have on their work in ministry.
So we begin with the heart space, the center of the cross. The personal, the existential, may be seen at the heart of the other 4 radiating out from this heart space. As Lonergan says, personal value is the person in his or her self-transcendence, as loving and being loved, as originator of values in his or her self and in their milieu, as an inspiration and invitation to others to do likewise. As an originator of value, the person in his or her self-transcendence can be principles of benevolence and beneficence, capable of genuine collaboration and of true love, end quote. This heart space is in the interweaving dynamic relationship with the vital, social, cultural, and religious values. The arms are used to represent the other values.
The vital values of health and strength, grace and vigour are normally preferred to avoiding the work, privation and pains involved in acquiring and restoring them. How we are, healthy, strong or not, is fundamental to who we be and how we be in ministry. Concretely, issues of sleep, diet, recreation, use of days off and holidays are potential topics in relation to this value.
Social values such as the good order create the environment in which the vital values of the whole community might be met. In the context of pastoral supervision, it means that the minister have access to adequate material resources, such things as office space, IT, easy access to transport consistent with the demands of their ministry, and that there are sufficient personnel to complete the necessary components of his or her role. As we all know, it is not unusual for personnel to not be replaced once moved, or for extra roles to be allocated to pastoral ministers.
In terms of cultural values, Lonergan asserts that Over and above mere living and operating, men and women have to find meaning and value in their living and operating. End quote. For those working in pastoral ministry, having a safe space to give voice to doubts, fears, questions and concerns with regard to why they are doing what they are doing. A space to begin to explore emerging questions of meaning and value as they reflect on their ministry and life.
Returning to the heart or personal values, it is one thing for the person to be an originator of values occasionally, by fits and starts. It is another to do it regularly, easily, spontaneously. This requires both effort and time. And this is why pastoral supervision is important for all involved in ministry. It is, finally, only by reaching the sustained self-transcendence of the virtuous that one becomes a good judge, not on this or that human act, but on the whole range of human goodness.
To maintain this self-transcendence, the virtuous person is sustained by religious values. It is religious values that form the ground of the meaning and value of the person's life and world. Religious values also provide the orientation in terms of a person's ultimate horizon. It is for this reason that religious values rank highest in the ascending scale of values. In the engagement of pastoral supervision, this is often the value which is expressed most easily by clients, and there is the potential danger of crossing into the field of spiritual direction. It is for this reason, then, that the pastoral supervision boundaries most clearly are established at the beginning of the pastoral supervision relationship. On occasion, in the context of supervision, the supervisory process overlaps with elements of spiritual direction. When this occurs, it is incumbent on the supervisor to name the change of emphasis and seek permission from the client to overlap into this domain.
In the absence of any serious pathology, there are in full consciousness intentional feelings so deep, so strong, that when deliberately reinforced, they channel attention and shape a person's horizon and direct his or her life. The supervisor's role in this process is to provide a safe environment to articulate the story and its related feelings, to leave space for reflection, identify questions that might assist in deepening the client's understanding and knowledge of the event, challenge the client's perception of the event, and provide feedback on the presented stories. Also to suggest paradigms, learning models, and resources for continuing the integration of the story and encourage new strategies for moving into the future confidently as both person and minister. Our second symbol is the Celtic Knot.
It is into this context then that we come to our second very helpful Celtic symbol. Anyone involved, even in a peripheral way, knows that pastoral work can be tough, and one's awareness of what is at work in this area be many and desperate. In the context of professional pastoral supervision, there are three areas of knowledge that we can explore, which are perfectly represented in the Celtic Trinity knot. This ancient symbol of the eternal, of the spiritual life, and of being reflects to the interlinking intricate complexity of human knowledge.
There are three zones of awareness or knowledge that can be explored in the context of pastoral supervision, zones from which most people minister. The first is the ordinary operational zone, the open zone, where things are known to all, the client and others. The second, we call the blind zone, where things are known by others, but perhaps not to the client. If a supervisor observes the impact of psychic elements in the client that they themselves may be unaware of, the supervisor, as appropriate, may recommend that the supervisee access some psychotherapeutic treatment. The third zone is the hidden zone, where things are known by the client but remain unknown to others. Before any exploration of these zones of knowledge can begin, it is necessary to create a safe space to help clients reflect on how they are in their ministry for the church. This is represented by the circle. When clients enter into the safety of the supervisory space, it enables their exploration of the open, blind, and hidden zones of their ministry. But we do not dig. What is said in the circle? That said, all supervisors are mindful of their duties for appropriate disclosure and have informed clients of this in advance. The circle also serves another function. It represents the ongoing and often circular nature of the supervisor conversation.
Our final symbol for this presentation is the sailing cross. Monks on the remote island of...
Oh, here we go. Ilantunic.
Off the Kerry coast were faced with two main concerns, the spiritual and the practical. The practical question of how to feed the body was answered by the sea around them. The spiritual question of nourishing the soul was met by their faith. Both these dimensions were described by this ancient carving on the island, which depicts a cross standing in the waves, which is also reminiscent of a masted boat. Such has been the interpretation of the sailing cross thus far.
We would like to offer another. A closer examination of the cross seems to show three nails forming a cross, standing on flowing and ebbing waters. Might the nails represent the wounds of Christ? Could the waters beneath represent the human journey? Could the whole carving represent the cross of the nailed Christ as a masted boat standing in the turbulent seas of the human journey? Is it making available to all the Christian faith for salvation, the sails of hope to find direction in the turbulent seas of life, and making available the expression of God's unfailing love for humanity amid the travails of the world? The elements of the sailing cross can also be a metaphor for all who are devoted to Christ, and perhaps particularly a metaphor for the cleric in ministry, as they serve a not dissimilar function. Perhaps it might represent the Christian minister who remains open, arms outstretched to welcome widow, orphan, and stranger in the pelagic currents of the contemporary world.
It is for this purpose that the sailing cross is our final symbol, as it represents what pastoral supervision is really about. The supervision itself may be seen as a means of revitalizing, restoring, and reinvigorating the client to take on their ministry in the ebb and flow of the spiritual and human dimensions of the person. Pastoral supervision, at its best, is about enabling, empowering, and energizing the ministers the minister for mission to become the masted boat, as it were, in the stormy seas of Christian ministry. Thank you.
This brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you for your time and attention, and we look forward to seeing you from down under soon.